Hey guys, today we are talking about one of my favorite lenses, the Sony 20mm f1.8G, to find out if it's a good choice for you for vlogging and cinematic shots. And what does that G stand for? Is it great or garbage? Or even garrulousness? Let's find out. So apparently garrulousness means trivial or rambling speech. Quite ironic that I would choose that when looking for a random word beginning with G. Everything we will cover is listed here along with product links and timestamps in the description. Plus, if you enjoy the video, then like, subscribe, and let me know your thoughts or questions in the comments. But right now, let's talk key facts. The lens has a list price of £950. For that, you get a very wide f1.8 maximum aperture along with a 67mm filter thread. This is a prime lens with a 20mm full frame focal length only. But if you switch to APS-C mode or use the lens on a crop sensor body, the 1.5 times crop will give you a 30mm equivalent view as well. Along with the usual front and rear caps, the lens also comes with a nice leather bag. I've never found these useful, but it's nice if you do. And you could always use it for terrible magic tricks. Oh. Watch out, David Blaine. Kind of regret putting this in the bag now. We will talk more about design, controls, and the build quality of the lens later, but right now, let's see what the lens can actually do, starting with field of view. The 20mm field of view is super wide and expansive, without going as far as a fisheye or GoPro type of look. It's perfect for landscapes or wide shots when you want to capture more of a scene or create more emphasis on space than the establishing shot in a Star Wars movie. But thankfully, our shots won't have tons of terrible sequels. This angle works well for showing scale, but it may not be great for mid-distance shots or when you want elements in the frame to be composed more tightly. Switch to APS-C mode and the 30mm view you get will solve some of that. Here, you still have nice wide shots, but less of a sense of everything being pushed further apart. When vlogging, 20mm is definitely the way to go, and it works amazingly well. That wideness means you capture tons of background without having to hold the camera miles away or use any kind of grip extension. For once, wideness is actually a good thing, unlike my post-pandemic waistline. Thank God for elastic. At full arm's length, the view is actually more expansive than I needed, so I could hold the setup a bit closer for a more comfortable vlogging experience. The other advantage of this wide vlogging view is the space it gives you to crop in for our next topic, stabilization. You might expect in-lens stabilization when you're spending nearly $1,000, but sorry. No luck here. If you have an older Sony body, you're limited to in-body STEADYSHOT. That is usable for simple pans or tilts, but try moving or vlogging and you'll get a shakier mess than a sewage facility in an earthquake. Of course, a gimbal will solve this, and the lens works great on my Moser Aircross 2, as you'll see more of in our low light section. But if you have a body released in 2020 or later, like my A7C, you'll have the option of using Catalyst browse stabilization based on the gyroscopic data recorded while you shoot. That is a perfect match for this lens, since the only downside of Catalyst is a slight crop into the image. Our super wide view at 20mm provides tons of space to crop in until the results are smoother than an ice sculpture after a bikini wax. So your money doesn't get you in-lens stabilization, but you must be getting something good for the price. You're damn right you are. Let's talk about bokeh. At f1.8, the bokeh here is, like the Mortal Kombat announcer would say, outstanding. The fall off between in and out of focus areas is smooth enough to be seamless, and those out of focus areas are more beautiful and blurry than my memories after eating all those muffins in Amsterdam. At a modest vlogging distance, you get excellent separation with a sharp, detailed subject and what looks like a gorgeous watercolor painting behind you. Do you get the vibe that I like these results? I hope so. That was about as subtle as one of my pickup lines. You, human female. Hook up now? This lens also excels at bokeh when close to the subject. The incredibly good minimum focus distance of around 6.3 centimeters combined with the 9-bladed circular aperture gives insanely smooth blur when shooting close. I was shocked how good the close focus is here. You can genuinely get some shots that are entering into macro territory, which is an amazing addition for overall versatility. You also get large and near perfectly circular bokeh balls, which give even more of that high quality look to your images. Speaking of high quality, is this thing built well? Absolutely. We are talking more well built than 1980 Schwarzenegger. with well-made metal and plastic construction giving a robust, reliable and pleasing tactile experience. The lens is light and compact compared to many of its full-frame buddies at 8.5 centimeters in length and 373 grams in weight, giving a combined weight on the A7C of just 882 grams. That is light enough to comfortably shoot or vlog handheld without concern, but just heavy enough to mean if you use a gimbal, you need a mid-range one rather than an entry-level one. We have a customizable button on the left of the lens, along with a physical switch to select auto or manual focus. Both feel great, plus the overall construction is dust and moisture resistant. There's also a switch on the right to control whether the aperture clicks or not when you change it. Really nice if you want to turn this off for a smooth aperture change in video, though I like mine clicky. It's so damn satisfying, and it's great for some ASMR. I still don't know what ASMR stands for. Maybe amazingly sexy Marxist robots. Now I say it out loud, it sounds less likely. Beyond the aperture ring, you get a well-sized manual focus ring at the front of the lens, which has a linear response. What does that mean? It means manual focus pulls are precise, consistent, and the same amount of movement on the focus ring will change the focus distance by the same amount each time. That is exactly what you want from a good video lens, making pulling focus enjoyable and getting cinematic results much easier. The action of the focus ring itself is ultra smooth, well dampened, and it just feels very premium. Can autofocus keep up with these lofty standards? For the most part, yes. Autofocus in a vlog setting was basically perfect in good light and handled changing from extreme bright to more shaded areas with ease. Subject tracking works great, even if faces are covered or when you have more weird, erratic moves than a dance contest at a magic mushroom party. Even then, I'm not winning with those moves. The excellent focus speed is thanks to two extreme dynamic motors, as Sony call them. Super effective, but it does sound like a cringeworthy job application. This CV is from Gary Goggins, who is extreme, dynamic, team-orientated go-getter who thrives on value-add problem solving. Definite sociopath. Next. Rack focus with touch tracking works well in most situations with a better success rate than other lenses I've tested. The only place I could make autofocus stumble even occasionally was when I tested our next topic, low light. Here, that f1.8 aperture is a big benefit, allowing the camera to drink in lots of light. In dark settings, I was comfortable shooting well below ISO 6400 for B-roll and manual focus shots. Impressively, the autofocus worked well in my vlog testing with an ISO on auto and capped at 6400, but it did still lose me on occasion. Allowing that maximum ISO up to 12,800, I got autofocus working well about 95% of the time. You probably could boost that number to 100% if you're comfortable with the image noise of an even higher ISO, but while the autofocus in low light is not perfect, I think it's still very good performance. More generally, low light allows that amazing bokeh to be even more prominent for some stunning results, and you can get more enlarged balls than the most high-volume sperm donor clinic in town. The super wide aperture means you also seem to capture more color range for the same amount of light compared to other lenses I've tested. Plus, you have enough exposure headroom to increase shutter speed and even shoot some nighttime slow motion. Pretty damn cool, and definitely one of my favorite low light options for Sony. So, what are our key takeaways? I would have to say Domino's, then KFC. Oh, you mean about the lens? Okay, let's summarize pros and cons. You get two useful focal lengths. 20mm is great for vlogging and wide shots, creating an expansive feel that captures tons of the surroundings. 30mm remains wide but has a bit more of a subtle look. Both will give you stunning bokeh, which is even more pronounced when using that insanely close minimum focus distance for detailed close-ups. The wide f1.8 aperture that drives that bokeh also makes this great in low light, with more flexibility and more reliability of autofocus than most lenses can compete with. Autofocus itself is also great, as is the premium feeling build quality and comparative lightness and compactness of such a capable lens. But there are downsides. As a prime lens, you're limited to 2 focal lengths at the wide and ultra wide end, which does reduce versatility a bit. You probably can't use this as one lens for everything on a shoot. Plus, if you can't use catalyst stabilization and want to vlog, you will need a gimbal at extra cost to get smooth results. And the price of this lens on its own is no joke. £950 could get you whole cameras that are very decent, but that is the reality for high-end full-frame lens pricing. As the ancient philosopher Kanye of the West once stated, "I ain't saying she's a gold digger, but she ain't messing with no broke." And I think we can all agree that is clearly an analogy for full-frame cameras and their expensive lens ecosystems. But terrible jokes aside, I don't think the downsides here are significant, and the 20mm still represents good value when you consider the cost and quality of many alternatives. So if you want something excellent for vlogging, amazing wide cinematic shots, and incredibly impressive close-ups, I can strongly recommend this lens. And that is it for today. Massive thank you for watching, especially making it all the way to the end. If you enjoyed the video, then like, subscribe, and let me know questions or thoughts in the comments. But most importantly, until next time, take it easy. I never understood what the other line is in that song. It's like, I ain't saying she's a gold digger. Probably not that, but yeah, I should look up the lyrics.